Hello everyone! I had a lot of requests for this game, so here it is. This is the Isle of Man 2017, this is last round, and unfortunately for Hou Yifan, her first four opponents in the Isle of Man were women, and we all know what Yifan thinks about playing women in open tournaments. As I said, this is the last round of the tournament. She's playing against former world champion Viswanathan Anand, and this is her time to shine. And whoever wins this game gets second place in the tournament. I think, Anand was second in the end, but I think she would also be second if she won this game, right behind Magnus Carlsen. So let's see this game. This is actually only her second game she's playing against Viswanathan Anand. The first game was played in 2013 in Tata Steel tournament, and the game ended in a draw. She had the white pieces. I will put this game in the link to this game in the description below, so you can check it out if you want. So let's see. This is their second game, and Anand is white. He plays e4. We have e5, knight to f3, and knight to f6. Yifan goes for the Petrov defense. She probably thought, there's no point playing against Anand for a win, so maybe playing a solid opening with black. I don't know, probably maybe forcing Anand to go for the win and maybe go for some chances there. So we have knight captures on e5, d6, knight to f3, and knight captures on e4. All standard theory. D3, knight back to f6, and now d4. We have d5. Bishop to d3, bishop to e7, Anand castles, Yifan castles, and rook to e1. Bishop to g4 is played, bishop to g5, and knight b to d7, and knight b to d2, and rook to e8 is played. And in this position, you can see it's a pretty symmetrical position. Anand plays c3, we have c6, still a symmetrical position, only Anand has this bishop on d3 and Yifan has the bishop on e7. But as it usually is with symmetrical positions, this always favors white, as he has the second move. Queen to c2, we have h6, kicking the bishop, bishop to f4, and now knight to h5, attacking this bishop on f4. Anand goes bishop to e5, and here bishop to g5 is played. And okay, h3, maybe better than this bishop to g5 idea was bringing the bishop back maybe to e6 or even rook to f8. Yifan also wants to grab a full point here, so I guess she's also trying to make something happen. So okay, bishop to g5, and Anand plays h3, and she gives up the light squared bishop. Bishop captures on f3, knight captures on f3, and we have bishop to f4, now offering to exchange bishops. But first Anand plays bishop to h7 with check, and of course you don't want to play king to f8, you get queen to f5, and your king will be stuck on f8 forever. So after this check, king to h8 is played. Bishop captures on f4, knight captures on f4, and now Anand plays bishop back to f5. And this is, with a pretty decent plan. Anand is planning to eliminate this knight on d7 and then create an outpost for his knight, this f3 knight on e5, and this knight will become very strong. So we have queen to c7, and now Anand captures it, bishop captures on d7, queen captures on d7, and knight to e5 with a tempo on the queen. Queen to e6 is played, and what do you play here? Rook to e3, a nice rook lift, preparing rook 8 to e1, doubling up on the e file. So king to g8 is played, not allowing any knight g6 checks in the future or knight f7 checks. Rook 8 to e1 is played, and okay, Anand already has a threat here, knight to d3 for example. And after the queen moves to defend the rook, exchange both rooks and then capture this knight on f4, winning a full piece. So queen to c8 is played, and this is Anand's idea. A very bold idea, if I might say so. He plays knight captures on f7. He sacrifices a piece, although it's not really a sacrifice since Yifan will have to give back the piece. We have rook captures on e3, rook captures on e3, and king captures on f7. And we have rook to f3. Anand pins this knight on f4, and what does black play here? Well, Yifan played king to g8 back, but could she maybe play something like g5 and try and hold on to this position? Well, actually no. If she played g5, Anand would completely destroy her. As he would play queen to h7 check, you get king to e8, and now rook to e3 with check. Knight to e6 here, and now a silent move but a deadly move. Queen to g7. As the knight is pinned, the knight can't capture the queen, and black has no moves. If you don't defend the knight with your queen, well, rook captures knight is coming. And if you play something like queen to d7, try to exchange queens, then queen to f6. Another silent move, but this is crushing. Rook captures on e6 is the threat, winning the queen. So after something like queen to f7, now rook captures on e6 check, king to f8, queen captures on h6 with check, queen to g7, and now rook f7 check. The queen is pinned, the rook cannot be captured, and the king has to go to g8 to protect the queen. King g8 and rook g6, and this wins a queen, game over. So after rook f3, Yifan decided, g5 isn't really working. She played king back to g8, and we have a rook captures on f4. And Anand is up a pawn, and well, now Yifan has to play against the former world champion, being down a pawn, and well, this is no small task. Queen to e6, and Anand immediately goes for queen to f5, offering to exchange queens. We have rook to e8, as queen to e1 check doesn't really achieve anything. As well, a lot of people say in the comments that when they hear to e1 check, it sounds like Ivanchuk. But okay, rook to e8, and Anand exchanges queens. Queen captures, rook captures, and okay, this is a pretty simple rook ending. This is a well, symmetrical pawn structure on the queen side, and Anand has an extra pawn on the king side. This is, well, he can play this blindfold, I believe. King to f1, not allowing rook to come to e1. a5, we have rook to f3. Anand is preparing rook to e3 to either exchange rooks or to win this nice open e-file. Rook to g6, now a4. Rook to d6, king to e2, bringing the king into the game. Rook to d8, and now king to d3. We have rook to b8, and we have a rook to f5. This is a very nice move. As you'll see now, Yifan plays b5, Anand captures a captures on b5, and it would be great for Yifan if she could capture c captures on b5, and well, this would allow her to create a nice passed pawn on the a file. But now this rook on f5 is preventing her from capturing with the b pawn, as with the c pawn, as the d pawn would fall. So rook captures on b5 has to be played, and king to c2, defending the b2 pawn. Rook back to b7. Now f4. Anand is starting to push those kingside pawns. G4. We have a4, rook to e5, king f7. Now f5, rook to a8, rook to e6, rook to c8, rook back to e8, rook to a8, and here Anand plays h4. Now we have a3, pawn captures on a3, rook captures on a3, and now another nice move, king to b2, preventing any rook ideas from entering the game through the a file. We have rook back to a8, and now g5, h captures on g5, rook to b8 check, king c2, rook to h8. Now we have rook to e6, preparing g6, rook to h5 is played, g6 now with check, king to f8, and here Anand played f6, and in this position Yifan resigned the game. As well, you don't really have a move here. You can't allow Anand to play f7, because then rook to e8 ends the game immediately. And if you capture g captures on f6, well, you get rook captures on f6 with check, king g7, and then rook captures on c6. Being up 2 pawns in a rook ending, this is, well, she doesn't want to torture herself against the former world champion. So yeah, great game by Anand, and well, he really used every resource he had. That subtle nuance of knight captures on f7 was well, enough for a win. It's just grabbing a pawn, but for Anand it was enough. So yeah, this is the game. I do hope you enjoyed it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon.